Hello food fans, so in my latest video I reviewed 3 household name pies. All pretty box standard, nothing amazingly special about them, but I also noticed in the comment section a few things popping up, mainly comments about the Marks and Spencer's pie, so you know what I thought to myself, we have to give it a review. So I went out and got myself one for us to take a look at. However, you know me, I couldn't do just one pie on its own, so I went out and picked 2 worthy contenders, something to give it a competition. We're going to put them back to back, we're going to pull them apart, and as always, give them that review. So we've upped the stakes today. We've gone a little bit more fancy. And by recommendation of you guys, I've gone out and purchased myself one of the Marks and Spencer's standard steak and ale pies. It's the classic steak short crust pastry pie. And of course, we all know when you're buying things from Marks and Spencer's, they're a little bit nicer. And of course a little bit more expensive. But you know me, I'll never turn down an opportunity for a good time. So the 2 contenders that we have are as follows. Contender number 1 is the tender steak and ale all butter pastry pie. British beef steak cooked in a deeply flavourful ale gravy, delicately hand finished with sage and onion sprinkle. And of course this is part of the Tesco Finest range, so it's going to be well up to the match, you know, for the likes of Marks and Spencer's. And then of course I went down to Waitrose and got their take on the classic steak pie, topped with crisp short crust pastry, tender chuck steak in a rich beef stock gravy. I think we all know that Waitrose don't mess around. We've certainly got ourselves some worthy opponents here. So what I'm going to do, as I did before, I'm going to go through them all one by one, and we're also going to get each pie on the scale before and after it's cooked to see if the weight on the box is actually what it says it is. See if we can catch these guys out, because I love doing that. And today's objective is simple. Is the Marks and Spencer's pie as good as you guys say it is? And does it stand up to the other 2 contenders we have here for it today? So the best place to start is going to be the Marks and Spencer's pie. Let's take a little look at the packaging, shall we? So here it is, in the flesh, the classic steak short crust pastry pie. Now this one cost me £3 exactly, so of course naturally going to cost a little bit more because it's of course from Marks and Spencer's. From select farms we know and trust, Marks and Spencer's is the only retailer who can trace all of our beef back to every farm, always British. I respect that. And then of course we've got another little description there. Butter enriched pastry steak pies served with Marks and Spencer's buttery mashed potato and garden peas. We haven't got that today unfortunately, but let's check the weight of this. This is a 200-gram pie, so your pretty standard size for a pie. And this one, the beef content is 40%, which is actually quite high. Obviously 40% is made up of all the ingredients in its integrity. So it is kind of basically just box standard. There's nothing singing and dancing about it. It is just a Marks and Spencer's normal pie. Let's get it open. Let's have a little look at what we're working with. God, I've glued this down tight. Oh, okay, so it's like an oval. It's not like a circular one. The colour of it already looks really good, doesn't it? Really good. I'm excited to see what you guys have been raving about. So I'm gonna get this cooked and then I'll get back to you once it's all sorted. And here we have it, the notorious Marks and Spencer's steak pie. Look at all the colours that are going on this. It's got such a lovely little tan to it, shall we call it. It looks very, very good. Let's chop it in half. Let's take a look at the cross section. Put it down to one side. Let's have a look. There we go, a decent amount of filling. Doesn't look too bad at all. We're off to a great start. And here we have it in all of its glory. Again, as I mentioned, it's very picturesque. It's certainly got all the elements that you'd certainly expect from a pie. You've got that lovely colour to the pastry that's on top. The deep, rich colour of the gravy. The gravy hasn't like splurred all out either, so it's not really runny, which in my opinion, I prefer. I think first I'm going to sample a bit of this short crust pastry. Let's go in with a bit of this. Sometimes when I have pies, I can taste like butter pastry. A lot of them sell themselves on the idea that they have buttered pastry, so it makes them better than everything else. This sits right between those 2 scales. I can taste the butter, but very slightly in there. It's not like they've just put a kilo of butter in it and just said, there you go, lads, get it out, that'll do. I want to try another bit of it. I'll give it that. The balance of butter in this pastry, certainly the lid that I've tried, is bang on. Perfect. Not a bad lid if I do say so myself. Of course, it's all about the beef as well. We kind of dismantle it a little bit, pull it apart. And there are a fair few pieces of beef in this half. Let me pull out the beef. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've got 5 respectable pieces of beef. I appreciate you probably can't see it that well, but let's get the biggest piece out and show you what we're working with. That gravy, it smells so good. I'm gonna give this a taste and I'm looking forward to it. The gravy's delicious. Absolutely delicious. It's got that balance where, again, it's not too overwhelming. The flavour hits just right. It's not like it's been turned up to 100. Does that make sense? Although I will say, let me just try one more piece. One more piece, he says. That was that first bit, I think. The beef's slightly on the chewier side. So I think with, you know, some pies, when they're slow cooked, the beef is a little bit more tender, and this isn't, of course, a slow cooked pie. However, the beef isn't, you know, rubbish beef. It's certainly reflecting that 40% beef content that we saw on the box in the beginning. That pastry's damn delicious. I want to try and get a bit of everything here without spilling it everywhere. That gravy consistency, look, it's not running out. It's staying on there. The amount of filling that's in it is respectable as well. We are close to the top. It's a solid pie, isn't it? You know, it's not all singing, all dancing. It's not trying to do anything special, you know. It's not trying to be slow cooked or anything fancy. It's doing all the basics perfectly how they should be done. You guys were right, this is a solid pie, and I'm gonna look forward to seeing if the others can beat it. Now, the weight of this, how did it weigh up before and after it was cooked? So before we cooked it, it weighed in at 214 grams. And then after we cooked it, it went to 206 grams. So it lost the 8 grams in the cooking, which is expected of these pies. It's usually around the average that they do lose when they're cooked. But both those numbers still north of that 200 gram weight mark that's on the packaging. So they're not lying. In fact, they're giving us a little bit extra. Now let's see if we can beat this. So coming up next, we're going to take a look at Waitrose option with their box standard steak pie. Let's take a little look at the packaging, shall we? And here we have it. The steak pie from Waitrose, topped with crisp short crust pastry, tender chunk steak in a rich beef stock gravy. And it also says on the front here that it says it's first for animal welfare. Never really understood that. The poor thing's dead in the pie. So, you know, it can't be too good for it, can it? Let's call it my stupid sense of humour. We've got some marketing claims here. Filled with succulent pieces of tender chuck steak in a rich savoury gravy made with proper beef stock and onions sautéed in beef dripping. Oh, it's blowing its own trumpet, isn't it? You know, again, wonder if it's that, you know, got that much filling in it. They always put it on the pictures, don't they? So, oh, we have another claim around here. We work exclusively with British farmers who share our animal welfare values. Yeah, you like eating cows. The beef content in this is 38%, so very slightly underneath what we had, you know, in that initial Marks and Spencer's pie, but you're arguing over a couple of percent, especially with these higher, more premium pies. This number has been creeping up, so it's always good to see. There you go. Look at that picture. You can't argue that, can you? Look at it. Look at it. It's supposed to be full to the top. We're going to test it out. Looking forward to seeing if that one's true. Let's get this open. Oh, hello. Okay, so a little bit more of a circular pie as opposed to an oval. It's got a little dip in the middle here. But again, a crisp short crust pastry on the top with a lovely little bit of colouring. So let's get this one cooked up and let's see what we have. Here we go, Waitrose steak pie. This one's got a lot stronger. I can smell the pastry on this one before I've cut it out. So again, a lovely colouring on top of it. If Waitrose did brochures for pies, this one would be on the front page. Let's give it a little chop in half. Turn that around. Let's have a look. Again, no run out, which is good. That's what we like. Plenty of filling in there as well. So this one does look promising. Whoa, this one's got some good smells about it. And as I mentioned, the cross section there, nice and filled. They weren't lying when they, well, I don't think it looks like the picture. Maybe turn it from a different angle. It's almost like it's a different colour, isn't it? Like the filling, it looks almost red on that. Anyway, it's the first thing I notice with any pies that I have. If it all runs out when you cut it in half, it's rubbish, in layman's terms. I don't know how else to put it really, but I want to get a piece of this lid. There we go. It's got a nice little flake to it as well. Let's give it a taste. It's a good pastry. However, and I did notice on the packaging, this isn't a buttered pastry. And of course this one costs 15 pence more for ultimately the same size and the same style of pie. Of course the butter complements the M&S one really nicely, but it doesn't take away from the fact this is also a great pastry. Try and rip another bit off. I'm just making a mess really. Get a little bit with that gravy on it. I've lost my fork. Where's my fork? Now, there aren't as many, well, there's about the same amount. I think the pieces of beef in the other one, well, the M&S one were a little bit bigger than this. They're in smaller little squared chunks in this one. But that gravy, can smell it. I'm gonna go with 2. I think the beef has a nice little texture to it as well. Right, contrast. Let me shine some light on this for you. The gravy and the beef in this one, they're good. They're really, really good. That gravy's probably, that could be one of the best gravies I've had in a pie. You know, it's like kind of in your mouth, it doesn't just disintegrate. I kind of throw some beef on the end here and just go in for one big bite. Oh yeah, that's a solid pie. Can't quite work out in my own head if the buttered pastry aspect of course, the Marks and Spencer's one is really giving it that much leverage, because the gravy in this one's really good. It's really good. And the beef is a slightly bit more tender, whereas in the M&S one, it was a little bit more chewy. So it's given me a lot to think about this as. It really has. Now the weight of this pie before and after it was cooked. Before, it came in at 214 grams, exactly the same as M&S. And then afterwards, it came out at 204 grams. So it lost 10 grams in the cooking process. It's probably the most that we've lost, you know, from a pie that we've cooked on this channel through that cooking process. But nonetheless, everything is still north of 200 grams. Waitrose are making this one difficult. Great pie. Let's move on. And coming up next, we've got the tender steak and ale pie, all butter pastry pie from Tesco's. British beef steak coated in a deeply flavourful ale gravy, delicately hand finished with sage and onion sparkle. Sweet music to my ears. And I think this is going to be Tesco's best swing at, you know, competing with these posh supermarkets. Let's take a little look at the packaging, shall we? And here we go. I'd call this Tesco's best attempt at making something really premium. Of course, note that this is a steak and ale pie as well. They didn't have any, certainly when I was there looking for them, they didn't have any normal steak pies. And again, the pictures on these things never cease to amaze me. It does look good, especially with a pint next to it. Oh, let's have a little look around the packaging. Pretty standard, all the same stuff. And take note of this one as well. This is a 250 gram pie, because this one does come in at £4. You are paying slightly more, but you are getting an extra 50 grams, obviously, with this. Beef content in this is 34%. So it is the lowest beef content one out of the 3 we're looking at. And this is, of course, an all butter pastry. We like a bit of all butter pastry. Let's get it open. And of course, obviously, it's a lot bigger, but look at the size of that thing. Look at the lid on it. Jesus. And of course, this is what's called a delicate onion and sage sprinkle over the top of it to add a bit of je ne sais quoi, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I'm excited to see what this one's like. Let's get it cooked up and let's see what we've got. And last but simply not least, the tender steak and ale pie from Tesco's Finest range. And you have had a slight bit of colour change on top, which is nice, not as picturesque as the other 2, I must admit. And it hasn't really got like a pie shape about it, has it? Let's give this one a cut open. Cool, the lid is very fluffy. Let's turn it around. Let's open it up. There we go. Look at that. That's nice and full. Okay, Tesco's, okay. Worthy contender. Again, no gravy running out. Exactly what we expect from these premium pies. A piece of beef in it though, I can see it there. Look at the size of it. Goodness. We'll start with the lid. I'll break a bit of it off. It is very, very fluffy. This is puff pastry as well. The pastry, as you can see in here, is so fluffy and delicate. I can't taste as much butter with this one in that pastry as it claims to have. But that sage and onion sprinkle that's on the top of that, that's really nice. That's adding another layer of depth to it. It adds a completely another layer of flavour. That's good. It certainly doesn't look as good as it tastes. It looks like burnt bits of shrapnel on top of it, doesn't it? Now let's take a look at the steak. Of course, I understand this is a bigger pie. Let's have a look at the meat that's in this one. That's the beef. There's 2 pieces there on the fork. They're not too dissimilar to the size of the one that's in the Marks and Spencer's one. Let's give it a taste. Best beef out of all 3 of them. I'm gonna have to put it to you like that, plain and simple. That is outstanding. All the other pieces of beef that we've seen today just aren't tender like that. That's seriously good. The gravy has that obviously distinct ale taste, but it's not massively overwhelming. I've had pies before where, you know, they say that they're steak and ale, and it just tastes like you're drinking a pint, you know? A pint of beer. It's completely overwhelms it usually, but you've got a lot of contrast going on with this, with all the different flavours. And This is a very good pie. I want to kind of have a bite of everything here. The pastry on the outside is obviously in that short crust style, and you have that kind of flaky top that's on there. So you've got a little bit of contrast. It's nice and airy. That lid it's not like a slab of pastry that you can sometimes get. This is going to be a very hard verdict to come to out of all three of these. One more look at that meat that's on there. Outstanding, outstanding. Now the weight of this one, obviously 250 grams because it's a slightly larger pie. That's reflected in the price, of course. Now before this one was cooked, it actually weighed 280 grams. And then after it was cooked, it weighed 272. So again, as we expect, typical 8 grams lost, but 272, that's 22 grams over the advertised price. Regardless of the fact of what weight it started off at, that's a good increase. Damn good pie. So it's time to round this up with an overall verdict. I'll start off by saying all of these pies are fantastic. I'll start with the Marks and Spencer steak pie. It was just as you guys said in the comments, absolutely fantastic pie. The highlight for this one for me was that buttered pastry that was on it. It really was delicious. And it was just that right amount of butter. It wasn't overwhelming. And at that £3 price point for 200 solid grams, it's a great pie. The Waitrose steak pie. This one, in my opinion, was the king when it came to the gravy. That gravy was fantastic. I could almost smell it before it came out of the pie itself. The pastry, of course, wasn't as good as it was on the Marks and Spencer's one, but I think where this one really shined was, of course, that gravy and that beef. But the gravy was definitely my favourite part. Absolutely fantastic with this one. And coming in at £3.15 as well, so slightly more than the Marks and Spencer's one, of course still for 200 grams. And then the Tesco Finest tender steak and ale pie that we looked at. I did not think this one would do as well as it did. And this one for me shone in the meat department. That's what she said. That British beef steak that was in it was absolutely incredible. It was almost juicy. It didn't require any kind of chewing on it. It was certainly the most tenderest meat out of the two of them. The onion and sage sprinkle that was going on the top, like in this picture here, that was great. Well, again, just another layer that was added to it that didn't, overwhelm it, didn't rule it at all, but was just fantastic. Worked really well. And I like that the lid was slightly more flaky than, of course, like the short crust side was. You had a bit of difference in the pastry. And if we're looking at it on the quality of ingredients, enjoyment factor, and all things considered, for me, guys, I'm gonna have to go with the Tesco's. The Tesco Finest one. I know that's mad. I genuinely wouldn't have tipped this one to win. I completely underestimated it and it was a complete underdog. Do not get me wrong. These pies are fantastic. All of them are, they're great. I'm just pulling them apart for you guys and picking the one I think's best. I think for me, coming in second, it was that Marks and Spencer's one because that pastry was damn delicious. That's enough pie videos for 1 week, guys. Cue the music.